All right, let's check the volume today. Okay, today is Saturday. Hope everybody is home with their families. Today, we're going to keep on analyzing a deal. I just saw the subto deal get posted on Facebook, so let's take a quick look at it. It says it is a 3.1% subto. One second. Where is this? There we go. That was not a deal. 926 South 96th Street in Mesa, Arizona. Subto. This is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1345 square feet. Purchase price 300 grand. The underlying subject to loan, which means you're purchasing the property subject to the existing financing, $260,000 loan at 5% interest. The PIT is 1772. We're going to note these details for later when we plug it in. We have a $40,000 total entry fee, $26K to the seller, $14K to the $14K to the wholesaler, but then the closing costs are not covered by them. So we'll make sure we zero that out later. So first thing we want to do is we want to grab the FMR. And for those of you that are watching Instagram, you can always go to youtube.com/@Kent_HE to watch the full screen version, because later on we're going to go into Excel and you might not be able to see it. So whenever I analyze a deal for Section 8, I go to HUD FMR, and you can just Google HUD FMR. When you do that, you can click on the top link on this website. When you scroll down to the bottom, you can click Access to Smart Area FMRs, and you can click on Look Up FY 2024 Smart FMRs. Once you get here, you click on the state and then the county. Usually you can get the county right from the Redfin. If you just Google, do Control Find the county, you can see that this is in Maricopa County. We're going to click on next screen. And then for this zip code is 85208, 85208. So I can get the zip code and I can get the fair market rents by bedroom by zip code. So you can see it's 0, 1, 2, 3. So the FMR is 2550 on this property. Let me make sure I write that down on my Excel file right now so that you guys can kind of see this later. FMR for 85208 for a 3-bed. That's going to be 2550. Okay. And then the 4-bed, I'm also going to get the rents for 4-bed. I always get it because just in case there is something creative about the property that I can add another bedroom, I'm going to grab that. So let's take a quick look at the market rents. For me to get a market rents, I go to affordablehousing.com. Once you go to affordablehousing.com, you can go to the owner section and you click on market rent estimator. From there, you can plug in the address and get the bedroom count, and this will get you all the rents on the bottom. And the 4 numbers that will pop up, the number I care most about is the far right number where it says 0.49 mile radius for 23 units. This means that on average for 23 units within a 0.5 half a mile radius, the average rent for a 3-bedroom property is $2,024. Now, it might differ between single family homes, condos, etc., but I'm going to use this number and I'm going to start writing this down in my Excel so we can look at it later. Because whenever I go and present a deal to a potential partner, I like to already show all my research. My partner is also very well aware of how I actually underwrite deals. So this kind of works out perfectly. So let me kind of keep going on in here. 0.94. This is a 4-bedroom rent property. So 2456. You can kind of see that the rent went up by about $450, so that if you ever are able to, for example, convert a garage into additional bedroom, that is how you can decide whether or not that conversion cost is going to be worth that incremental rent you should be able to achieve on your property here. So let's kind of put all these numbers down. So now we got these numbers, right? So first thing I want to highlight is for a 3-bedroom here, you want to compare the market rent, which is 2024, against what the FMR is, the fair market rent. FMR says 2550. So even though that the rent here says the ceiling rent is 2550, you don't want to underwrite using 2550. You want to underwrite using this number right here unless you have better information elsewhere or otherwise. Meaning sometimes you might be able to get the full FMR, which I've seen some areas get in North Carolina. I've had folks tell me that they only give then 90% of the maximum rent in other areas like St. Louis. Or to be safe, you can say this is my floor rent at 2024 because there is a test called the rent reasonableness test, which means that, hey, just because the maximum rent for a 3-bedroom in the zip code is 2550 does not mean that you get to charge 2550 because of the rent reasonableness test, meaning the housing authority is going to say you cannot charge more rent than what the market deems is appropriate as the market rent, quote unquote, simply because they are a voucher holder. And that's something that you want to pay close attention to, because otherwise you might be making wrong assumptions and you might think this is a cash flowing property when it might not be. Now, does that mean it can't go up to 2550 in a year, 2 or 3 years? No, it doesn't. But I like that there's extra room, but it does not necessarily mean that a market will keep up or necessarily accelerate. So it's completely up to you on what your personal preference is. So just something for you to kind of keep in mind. For me, I always go and do a quick street view of the property. So for the most part, when I look at the photos, this property looks like it needs nearly 0 renovations, assuming it's still in the same shape as it is now. Could I replace the carpet? Yeah, but for the most part, it looks like it's move-in ready for a tenant. So I'm not going to over-engineer this property. You might want to kind of just clean up the outside and paint it or whatever. So let's look at street view, see if there is available. Looks like it's in a manufactured home area. I don't know much about this area. I'm just looking for weird signs. Doesn't look that bad. Okay. Now, the next thing I do is I go to tophap.com, tophap.com. When I plug in the address, I can click on this neighborhood section and get the crime index score. Now, this crime index score right now says 134. 100 is national average. I typically don't like going that much. I live in an area where the crime index score is about 90. So 134 is a little higher than I would like. So I'm going to be a little hesitant about this property, but let's just keep underwriting it for the sake of the exercise. All right. So we got properties. We looked at the street view. We got pictures of the property. We got the FMR from the HUD website. We got the market rent so far from affordablehousing.com. So now we're ready to kind of go into the Excel and plug in the rest of the numbers. So let me stop sharing and share the Excel file really quick. And then we can plug in these numbers together. All right. So now we are in the Excel file. And for those of you that, let's see, I can share the entire screen. It might lag a little bit, but let's see if it works. If it doesn't work, I'll go back to just sharing. Just because there are folks on Instagram, and I want you guys to be able to just kind of see the whole thing. All right, let's see if this works. So I'm going to put this to the side. All right. Purchase price, 300 grand. So if the subto balance is $260,000, I'm plugging this on the far right over here. Interest rate was 5%. This property, I don't know when it originated, unless I can see this on the screen. When did the property get bought? The property was sold on 2/16/2022. So I'm going to put in 2/16/2022 and just assume that's when the loan started. All right. Now, the next thing I want to get is the purchase price. So it's going to be $26,000 to the seller. So I'm going to override this number with a hard punch in, and $14,000 in assignment. They said there's no assignment fee, so I'm going to zero that out really quick. All right. And then for this property, it is about approximately how many square feet? 1345. So I'm going to go to my rehab calculator and I'm going to punch in how many square feet I need for the property for this property. 1345. I'm assuming there's $3 a square foot to paint the entire place. And I'm assuming everything else looks pretty good because everything else doesn't really jump. Nothing else really jumped out at me at the pictures because it looks like it's pretty much rent ready. So that allows me to have a total rehab, including some 20% contingencies for things that I might not be able to notice, at $48.42. All right. At $48.42, I am now going to get $26,000 of my cash from the seller, $14,000 assignment. I'll put in my asking price now. So my asking price is going to equal this principal balance plus the cash to seller. That gives me $286. That's my purchase price. My monthly income rent, if you remember correctly, is the first scenario I want to underwrite it is at $2,024. $2,024 because that's my market rent. So I'm going to use that as my rental assumption. My PITI is 1772. So I'm going to equal 1772 minus the principal minus the interest. That gets me to a total of 376 for property taxes and insurance. I'm going to add an extra $30 a month for property insurance, just because if it's a rental property, the insurance cost might be going up a little bit higher since it's usually deemed as a higher risk. There is no HOA. I'm going to leave 10% of the maintenance for 10% of the gross rent for maintenance. That equals $200. I have 8% for property management, 3% for vacancy. And currently this yields me a negative 203 cash flow. And that's a negative 5.4% return. Now, I don't love this deal because of that fact that it's a negative cash flow on property. Now, even if you get to the best case scenario, you're trying to think about like, hey, what if I get my best case scenario and I get 2550? What will I get there? Well, now all of a sudden I'm cash flowing positive $212 a month after my reserves. That's a 5.7% return. And that does not meet my criteria. So even in the best case scenario for this property, this does not meet my investment criteria because I usually like to be at least around 15% cash return. So there's not much I can adjust. Usually, if we see scenarios like this, I might be able to say, hey, let me lower the renovations and see whether or not I can make this a better cash return. Or maybe you can negotiate the assignment fee. What if you got the assignment fee down to $7,000? Well, that only brought it up to 6.75%. So it still doesn't work. And I don't really like to kind of ding a wholesaler's assignment fee if I don't need to. I kind of want to make sure everybody wins on these transactions. So that's just purely completely up to you on whether or not you think something is a deal. But for me, this is personally not a deal. So for all of you guys that want to copy the spreadsheet, just DM me on Instagram at investwithkenthe and just let me know. And my assistant will send you the spreadsheet. I've been very fortunate to have been given these spreadsheets by other folks. I just been updating them so that I can accommodate my own underwriting needs. And obviously, this is not investment advice. Everything that I've talked about today is purely for information and entertainment purposes only. I am not soliciting any investments. I'm simply showing you guys exactly what I do every single day. That's boring, that's not exciting, but this is so crucial and valuable to our success as investors. Because if you can't recognize a deal when it comes across the table and slaps you in the face, then you're never going to be able to pull the trigger. And if all of you guys just simply copy the same properties I'm doing, analyze the same deals using the same spreadsheet, put it on your own YouTube channel, I believe that you guys would feel a lot more comfortable when the time comes so that you guys can all point future investors and partners when they ask you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? Well, you can point them to your own YouTube channel and say, well, look at all the deals I looked at for the past 100 deals that I looked at, and they were all not deals. And that's how I've recognized that this is a deal. So let's keep doing this together. Let's stay consistent together. I have nothing to sell you guys. I'm simply doing this for all of you guys. Hey, TB, hey, I appreciate that comment, man. I've been doing this for 69 days in a row. I'm going to do this for another 31 days in a row, and then I'll decide whether or not I want to keep this going. But right now, I know the habit has been formed. It feels weird whenever I have a day that I don't underwrite a deal and I don't analyze a deal live on YouTube or on LinkedIn with all of you guys. So I appreciate you guys. Please underwrite the deals continuously with me. Just copy the same properties, copy the same spreadsheet, put it on your YouTube channel. I think you guys will get a lot of practice doing this. And it only takes 18 minutes a day for all of you guys to underwrite it. And then all of a sudden, you will be better at underwriting than 95% of the America. So let's do it together, guys. Thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you for caring about Section 8, because without people like you, I would never have the home I grew up in. So thank you so much. Let's keep doing it. Let's stay consistent. Doesn't matter if it's a weekend. You guys can always spare 18 minutes a day to look at a deal just to stay consistent. So Jumping Jags, yes, you can DM me your personal email that you sign up on Instagram or on Facebook with, and my VA will send it to you later when she gets in about 2 hours. So just DM me your email and I will be happy to do it. Have an amazing day, everybody. Spend time with your families. I know I'm going to spend time with my daughter afterwards because she's playing right now, and I'm going to go play with her. Have an amazing day, everybody.